What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And as you guys know around here, every single month we'd like to go ahead and take a look at my own specific tier list and how I would rank every single legend in the game currently thus far on One Piece Treasure Cruise. Now, this does include legends from the Japanese version of the game, so if you guys are global only players, you got to remember that this does include the Japanese characters, including their rare recruits, their Colosseums and stuff like that. So, you know, if you guys are global, you might see some certain characters in some certain positions and you might wonder why. It does include those characters, okay? Also, another thing, remember, this is an opinion list. This is all my personal opinion. If you guys don't agree with it, that's completely fine. You know, if you guys want to leave your opinion down below in the comments, it would be awesome. I'd like to see what you guys think about my list in particular and how you would rank certain legends over others. But, you know, like I would like to say as well, is that I don't really like to rank legends like number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. I think that's a little bit too difficult to do, considering how crazy the legends are right now and how closely compared some of these legends can be. So I kind of rank them in groups. So we like to do it from tiers 0 all the way to tier 3. I have actually added an additional tier this time around, and you guys will see why in this video. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. So first thing is first, we're going to go ahead and have a look at the notable legends tier. Now, this tier has nothing to do with how good the legend is. These are just legends that are kind of really nice to have. They allow you to do certain things that some other legends won't allow you to do. Marco is really great. He gives you an orb boost and he heals. Healing isn't really a big thing in the meta right now. You know, definitely a while back, having someone that could heal your crew all the way back to full was quite nice to have, but the way that things are now, you don't really need that anymore. So that's why Marco is kind of just listed as a notable legend, where he's nice to have the heal, but, you know, you don't really need it these days. Moving on from that, we have Shirahoshi. Now, Shirahoshi is a very nice unit to have. A lot of people, even on Global and on Japan, they already know how powerful this unit is, giving you a full board of orbs with the rainbow orbs and also giving you a full heal. Much better than Legend Marco, as she does heal for a lot more, and also the fact that having the matching orbs is definitely much more effective than just getting a 1.5 times orb boost. So Shirahoshi is nice. Also, as a captain, being a rainbow captain and giving you a lot of recovery, she can be used to clear some pieces of content that is very, very difficult to beat, as she can kind of zombie your way through the dungeon with Shirahoshi as the captain, but still not a very powerful captain to have, but more used as a sub and a very, very useful unit to have. Next, we're going to be talking about Usopp. We've got both the 6-star and the 6-star plus versions of Usopp. These characters are essentially power crept versions of Golden Pound Usopp. The 6-star version will delay up to 5 turns and gives you a chain boost, whereas the 6-star plus version will delay the enemy even if they have a debuff or delay protector, which is pretty crazy. That's a really cool ability. I really would wish that, you know, they had more characters in the game that would apply stuff like that that goes through the debuff protectors of enemies, like maybe a defense down unit. That would be extremely useful to have, so you could, you know, apply the defense down conditional boost. But unfortunately, we've only got this unit right now that allows you to delay through the debuff protector, which isn't really used all that often. But, you know, if you do need to delay an enemy for any specific reason, then, you know, you have 6+ Usopp to do that specifically. The next unit is NL. Now, NL is a pretty tricky unit to use because you do actually need like a pretty decent amount of rare recruit characters, namely Marco and Shirahoshi in this tier as well, as NL is based around your healing and how much you overheal past your HP. So having characters that heal, you know, 70,000 HP like Shirahoshi, that will go above and beyond your HP threshold, means that your overhealing is going to be, you know, pretty significant. And just the fact that you can deal up to 2 million damage with his special is quite good, but there are definitely other characters in the game right now that are a lot more powerful than NL with his special. So I don't know, NL could probably be dropped from this list because he is a little bit tricky to use, and, you know, you do need a lot of the other rare recruit characters. So I don't know, NL's a very iffy one for this list, but, you know, he is really unique in what he does, overhealing and, you know, doing a lot of damage with his special. So NL's quite here as well. And then you've got Magellan. Magellan is a cool unit, of course, but the other thing is with Magellan is that you can use him as a captain and run a Magellan style team, but if the enemy has a poison protector or a venom protector, or they have a debuff protector, then you literally will probably lose with a Magellan team. You only get 2.25 attack, so double Magellan teams kind of struggle with that. But as a sub, Magellan's very nice, you know, giving you that venom that will stack extremely quickly. It only takes like, what, 5 or 6 turns to reach the maximum threshold of 2 million damage per turn with the venom. Very powerful ability, and he also gives you that really, really nice ability to heal as well. Okay, so the last unit in the Notable Legends tier that we're going to be talking about is going to be Buggy. Now, of course, Buggy is just a fantastic unit to own in your account, as you can use him in some pretty easy content and dupe drop some treasures like tomes, candy, and stuff like that. So Buggy is a really useful legend to have for those sorts of things, not really for clearing content, but just for quality of life stuff. You know, getting more items to use on your characters is extremely nice to have. So that's kind of just the overview of the Notable Legends tier. Didn't really want to spend too much time on this, but now let's move on to the actual ranking of these specific characters on the tier list. So we're going to start off with tier number 3. Now we're going to be starting from the bottom and moving our way to the top. Now these characters are not ranked or ordered in any specific way aside from the fact of their ID. They are not ranked in terms of how good they are. They are only ranked in each of their tiers only by their character ID, okay? So there's no specific ranking in each of the tiers themselves, just their ID is their only ranking factor, okay? So we've got our first one that we're going to be talking about is going to be Legend Blackbeard. So Legend Blackbeard is still quite a useful unit to have, as he does have the ability to bypass barriers and defensive abilities, which is still quite good. The only thing is he's only a 2.75 times attack captain. He is a rainbow captain, but 2.75 is very lackluster. However, he can still be partnered up reasonably well with version 2 Doflamingo for a driven-based team, or you can still partner him up with a V2 Lucci for a powerhouse-based team. So that can still kind of work, and technically, you can run a mono dex team with a Nami as a captain. That could actually work. I can actually see that working pretty well. You can use the new Nami, and we'll talk about Nami a little bit later. She's going to be ranked a little bit higher up in the tier, but Blackbeard overall, he does have really nice mechanics, but he's just a little bit weak on the weaker side. 2.75 is just really not enough damage. The next character we're going to be discussing is going to be the version 1 Sakazuki, the strength version, and he is still, you know, a really decent unit. He still gives you, 3.9 attack with a strength orb, 2.25 otherwise, which is a little bit of a bad side. He has really low lows and really high highs, but the thing is to get those high highs of the 3.9, it's pretty hard to get specifically a strength orb. Yes, he does increase the chances of strength orbs appearing, but, man, it's really mediocre, honestly, because he doesn't have any HP boost, he doesn't have any damage reduction, so he's extremely squishy, but he does partner up very well with the version 2 Sakazuki, and we're going to be going through him a little bit later as well. He does have the ability of boosting, strength and int, so you can partner both of these characters up reasonably well, and the strength orbs are counted as beneficial to the int characters on your team as well if you are using the version 2 friend int Sakazuki. So that can work reasonably well. It's just the fact that he is extremely squishy and he's hard to make it so that he has really optimal teams that he can really plow through content. And the thing is, with his teams, you are mainly running mono strength teams. You obviously can run other units, of course, but his best teams are mono strength, and mono strength with Akainu as the captain isn't all that great, as it is really tricky to get that really high highs of the 3.9. So honestly, he's just a really mediocre unit at the moment, but works really well with a friend V2 Sakazuki. The next unit on this list is going to be Timeskip Luffy, obviously one of my old favorites you guys would know on the channel. Timeskip Luffy is an interesting character because 2.5 base is pretty lackluster. That can, just get over some of the current mobs in the game. Currently on the Colosseums and stuff like that, the mobs actually have a decent amount of HP. And the fact he gets 4 times attack for 3 turns when you activate his special is still pretty nice. But the fact he's only 2.5 base is pretty lackluster. The great thing about Timeskip Luffy is that he partners really, really well with Luffy Ace Duel Legend unit, and once again, we're going to be talking about that unit a little bit later. I honestly think he's one of the best in the game, and the fact that you can partner up, the Timeskip Luffy that you own with a friend Luffy Ace, that is pretty powerful. And the fact that Free Spirit right now are probably one of the best classes in the game in terms of the utility to damage ratio, they're very, very good. And I'm going to be referring to that a lot in this video, whether units are more utility based or more damage output based, and you really want a team that can balance their utility and their damage output, and Free Spirit can definitely do that. They can deal with, I think, all of the debuffs in the game, or if not a majority of the debuffs in the game, but most of the key debuffs right now that are going around is going to be the attack down one. The attack down debuff is probably the most significant debuff going around on Treasure Cruise Japan, and the fact that they can run the Dex Shirahoshi on that team is just amazing. So that's a really good unit to have if you have that Shirahoshi. Really good for Cerebral and Free Spirit teams. Namely, Free Spirit and Cerebral are the best classes right now, so any Free Spirit and Cerebral units are really going to be high tier units. So yeah, Time Skip Luffy, honestly, as a unit himself, it is annoying the fact that his special doesn't really do anything for your crew. I mentioned this before in previous tier lists discussing Time Skip Luffy. His special ability makes 3 of the orbs matching. The thing is with Sailor abilities being introduced into the game with their limit breaks, Free Spirit units now have the ability to treat certain orbs as beneficial, like, without anything. Like, they don't need to activate anything for them to treat them as beneficial. You just have to limit break these characters. And with these characters getting limit breaks to make certain orbs counted as beneficial, really makes Time Skip Luffy special really, really useless. The only reason why you're using it is to actually gain that additional captain ability. And the thing is, being a 2.5 base, you have to continuously use that captain ability on multiple bosses in order for it to be extremely good. You can kind of get away in some instances, but a lot of the time in the more difficult content, you will need to be using that in 4 times attack, boosting captain ability a lot of the time in multiple runs, in multiple times during a run. So that's why I think Time Skip Luffy is a little bit weaker, but he's still a really powerful unit just because of the fact he can partner with Luffy and Ace Legend unit. So the next unit we're going to be discussing is going to be the V2 Quick Striker Law. Striker Law is a pretty good unit. When you look at his abilities, you know, he's a very, very powerful unit. The main reason why he's dropped down so much compared to previous tier lists is the fact that Free Spirit and Cerebral have been such amazing classes and had amazing buffs to their classes with brand new units come out. Strikers have kind of dipped a little bit in terms of their usability in most recent content. Obviously, when you go back through previous content, Strikers are still going to be able to destroy it. But in terms of the most recent content, Strikers are a little lackluster in comparison to Cerebral and Free Spirit characters. And that's the main reason why he's dropped down to this tier. Also, the fact that Strikers are not one of the better classes at the moment, and also because of the fact he's only a 3 times attack multiplier. You know, 3 times base can struggle a little bit in some of the more recent content in terms of damage output. That can be quite lackluster, meaning you do have to try and run hybrid teams with other captains. You could run Lucy, or you could run characters like Neko Mamushi, but hybrid teams are not always the way to go. They are very difficult to build hybrid teams if you want to farm with them in particular. So that's the main reason why Striker Law has dipped down a little bit. Still a very powerful unit, just the fact that Strikers just aren't as good as they once were. Quickly, we're going to be discussing about Kuzan 6+. Obviously, his special ability is a god tier special. 100k fixed through barriers AoE and a 2.5 times chain lock, and also giving you the ability to extend the duration of your buffs as well. It's a very good special ability. Very, very good. But his captain ability is where he's being dragged down. It is very difficult to use his captain ability on more difficult pieces of content, as, you know, you might need to stall a little bit, or there are some instances where you cannot kill the boss in 1 turn, meaning your attack stacks will reset and you'll go back to a 2.25 base attack boost on maybe a final boss stage, which is very difficult to deal with. But you can partner Kuzan up with another friend captain, and that will work very well. But once again, hybrid teams are tricky to build and really hard to use when you're farming as well. But Kuzan overall is more used as a sub, and when he is used as a sub, he's a very powerful unit to have. Next one on the list is going to be Hody Jones 6+, one of my favorite units to use in the game. Hody is a little bit more difficult to use because you have to run powerhouse only characters. Obviously, when you're farming, you know, some of the more easier content, using Hody is going to be the most ideal unit to use. You get all that cooldown reduction, you can clear the content extremely quickly using AoE damaging specials. But the thing is when you are running a mono powerhouse team, you're literally stuck to that. If you run one unit that isn't a powerhouse unit, your damage will drop significantly. So you need to run a full team of 6 powerhouse units, and the team with pure powerhouse units, their utility isn't really that great. You know, they can't really deal with some of the main debuffs in the game right now, and that's why Hody isn't really in that high tier. But he's more used to farm some of the easier content, easier Colosseums, easier raid bosses in the Fortnite and stuff like that. But still, a really good unit, as you can partner him up with other captains like Blackbeard and V2 Lucci, and that can still work quite well. But overall, Hody just isn't really as good or as strong or as reliable as some of the other legends on this list. So the next units we're going to be talking about, Mihawk and Zoro. I kind of want to partner them up together because they're kind of in the same situation. You know, the main thing is because slashers really aren't one of the best classes. They are one of the most mediocre classes right now. The utility isn't that great. The damage output is still quite good, and the fact that you have that Mihawk special to just go ahead and wave clear after you have bursted on another room, so that is still pretty unique to Mihawk. And Zoro is a good unit. You know, he's 6+. He's a very good unit. You know, these two units just came out on Global. I made a showcase video if you guys haven't seen that. Card will be up there. This unit is fantastic. He's a really powerful unit that gives you a lot of damage output with Zoro, and obviously just mentioned, you know, Mihawk special is very unique as well. But slashers do need a little bit of a boost. Their best captain being V2 Fuji. He's a good unit, but he does have some flaws, and we'll be discussing him a little bit later as well. But overall, I think that slashers do need a little bit of a buff in terms of their utility, and I think that they do need a more solid captain because Fuji is a bit iffy. But overall, these units are still very powerful, just the fact that slashers are a little lackluster in the game. Moving on towards the end of this list here, we have Crocodile 6+. He's a great cerebral captain. If you do need a cerebral captain, he's the only one you have. He's a great captain, works very, very well with version 2 Rayleigh, who is one of the better legends in the game. And just the fact that cerebrals are probably the best class in the game right now in terms of their utility to damage ratio, Crocodile is definitely worthy of this spot, although I wouldn't put him in the next tier above because there are a couple of legends in that tier that just are better than Crocodile in terms of what they do as a captain. His special ability is still very good, used as a sub on cerebral-based teams, giving you a 2x attack boost and a 20% health cut, though he can be, in certain circumstances, outclassed by the quick rare recruit Nami, who, if you guys don't know what she does, she's a 1.75 cerebral booster. If you hit a certain amount of perfects in one turn, you get 2.25 times attack to cerebral in the following turn. So the fact that Nami is a 2-turn booster and overall will give you more damage than Crocodile is why she's used usually more than Crocodile. But if you're only versing just a single boss, maybe it's just a raid boss, Croc is going to be used more often because of that 2x boost straight away is extremely useful to have. And that's the main reason why he's here. It's just the fact that the next tier has better cerebral units, basically. That's the only reason why he is here. The next unit we're going to be talking about is going to be the Bartolomeo 6+. This unit got an amazing 6+. I think I've already discussed it in previous videos, but he is a great unit that really leeches off of other captains as well. You can run double Barto, and that does work pretty well, but you can use him with other captains like Neko, V2 Law, V2 Dofi, and Blackbeard, both running a driven or a striker-based team, depending on what you want to run. But the thing is, Barto is only a 3x attack captain, very similar thing that we just talked about with V2 Law. The fact that strikers aren't one of the better classes right now. Driven are a good class. They do lack some utility though, so it really depends. You can run maybe a hybrid team that could potentially work, where strikers have a little bit more utility in comparison to strikers, and driven have a lot more damage output. So you can try and run a hybrid team. But, you know, in most circumstances, if you have V2 Dofi or if you have one of the better striker legends, you're not going to be using this guy as a captain. His special is quite unique though. He allows you to survive a hit from a boss, and he also gives striker and driven a 1.5 attack and orb boost. So that is actually pretty nice. That can be used on like Colosseum mini boss stages, just giving you a little bit of a boost, enabling you to kill the boss. So yeah, I think Barto is a very worthy candidate of this position in the tier list. Works well with some of the other legends on this tier list as well in striker and driven teams. Now, the last unit in this tier that we're going to be discussing is going to be the Psy-Law 6+. Now, I don't know why I forgot about this unit in the previous tier list video. This guy is amazing. If you guys don't know, his captain ability got buffed, so he becomes a 3.5 after 3 perfects, I think, and then it's a 4 times after 5 perfects or something. I don't remember exactly what it is, but his captain ability got a massive buff. He does a lot more damage, and he's a very, very viable option if you do need a free spirit or a slasher captain. He actually is so much better than his previous version. On top of that, when you formulate this unit with his 6+ and his limit break, his cooldown is reduced significantly. I believe he maxes at 8 turns with limit break and his 6+, and his special ability is much, much better as a 6+ unit. He does a lot of damage. He enables you to still go ahead and use your specials through barriers, and he goes ahead and will reduce your crew's cooldown. On an 8-turn cooldown is very, very good, meaning you can chuck him on a team and you can use specials that go through barriers on a really low cooldown. And I know a lot of people use this unit on like a Neptune team for farming, as if there are really annoying Fortnite units that have barriers or something, you can use his special to then enable Neptune to go through barriers. So it's pretty awesome, the stuff you can do with him. And yeah, he's very nice unit to have for Free Spirit and Slasher team. It is unfortunate that Slashers are a little bit lackluster right now, but still Free Spirit being one of the better classes, so you can utilize some really nice utility. And also you can still run this with a friend Captain Luffy Ace, and that can still work very well. So yeah, Law definitely deserves this position, although the fact that he is perfect base means that he is going to be a little bit more harder to use on like barrier specific content. Maybe if they have a good or a great barrier, that can be quite annoying to deal with if you need to do damage through them. So yeah, that's the only real downside to this Law. But other than that, this Law is a perfect unit. And now we're going to move on to the next tier. So now we're moving on to tier number 2. Now this is where I've actually changed things up. I've added an extra tier. So the thing is the top tier of legends in the previous tier list videos, you know, all the Lucy characters and all those really powerful legends, but we've seen a little bit of a shift in the meta, which means that some certain legends in that top bracket were a little bit better than those legends in that bracket. So I've kind of separated the tiers a little bit more. They're more fleshed out. So let's go through these characters in this tier. First one is going to be Neko Mamushi Cat Viper. Now obviously you guys know how I feel about Neko. If you guys have been around in my streams, me try to use this character, he's very frustrating to use because when you land a recovery or tandem orb, like, that is just the most disheartening thing to happen when you're using this character. And you guys who own him know exactly what I'm talking about. Obviously, you do have to mainly use the Aokiji bike when you're using this character. Otherwise, recovery orbs will be appearing a lot more often than you would like. Still, even if you do use that bike, recovery orbs are still going to appear at a reasonable rate. So yeah, this guy's really frustrating to use, but when he does work, it is fantastic to use. A 3.75 attack to strikers is exceptional. And his special ability, it's a similar thing to Timeskip Luffy, where characters now have sailor abilities that have the ability to treat certain orbs as beneficial, which kind of makes the special ability of Neko Mamushi a little bit redundant. And also another thing about Neko is the fact he is striker based, and strikers have kind of dropped down a little bit on the list of characters, or the list of classes rather, and they do kind of struggle with certain debuffs, like we've mentioned before, attack down being one of the most annoying debuffs that is going around right now on treasure cruise. And strikers actually, they can't really deal with attack down. They have to really run a character that is not boosted in order to deal with attack down effectively, and you don't really want to be doing that, especially in some of the more difficult Coliseum content. So yeah, Neko, honestly, he is a little bit of a worse character in comparison to some of the other characters on this list, but you still can't deny his power. 3.75 with the HP boost for strikers, who are still one of the better classes in the game, still very powerful unit, and that's why he is on the tier 2 of this tier list. Moving on to my homeboy V2 Lucci. V2 Lucci, honestly, when you really look at his damage, it's a bit iffy. You know, his damage scaling is a little bit weird. He starts off at 2.5 base, which is pretty bad, but you know, maxing out at a 4.06, I think it is, which is like that's really good. When you're versing one enemy, that's not too bad, but when you have to deal with multiple different enemies and you have to take them all out in a single turn, that can be quite annoying. You don't really get much recovery with V2 Lucci as a captain. He halves your recovery. With a double V2 Lucci, you get 25% of your original recovery. So meat orbs are pretty redundant. They're only counted as matching orbs with the Zunisha ship, but Powerhouse are overall one of the better classes. They are kind of, I would say, partnered up with strikers in the fact that, you know, they are one of the better classes, but they're not the best class. I would still say Cerebral and Free Spirit are the best classes right now. They are very good. They can deal with a decent amount of utility, but with pure Powerhouse units, they can't deal with everything. So you might need to run some non-boosted units, which is obviously not what you want to do. Very similar to what Neko has to do as well currently with the most recent content. So that's the reason why he's in this tier. Like, V2 Lucci and Neko, I would say, are pretty much on equal terms with each other of what they can clear and what they can achieve. So yeah, I think these two are partnered really well together, and they should stay in this tier right now. So now we're moving on to Judge. Now, I think that some people are going to be a little bit surprised by this decision right here, but when you really look at it, Judge is very difficult to build a team with. Obviously, if you have Germa, that's the main team you're going to be running with him, but the mono Germa team can kind of struggle with avoiding certain debuffs from the enemy. It is a really good thing though, the fact that Judge gives you a really nice HP boost and some pretty nice damage reduction, so that can work really well, giving you a lot of tankiness. but dealing with debuffs from the enemy can be quite annoying with Judge, as the only real support unit you have, or the only real utility unit you have, is Reiju, and she only deals with like what, Despair, Paralysis, Poison, and I think that's about it. So you're only limited to that kind of support or that kind of utility. So anything other than that is going to be a little bit of a hard thing to deal with the Judge team. Obviously, if you're not running the Powerhouse or the Germa units, getting matching orbs for your team is also going to be an issue. You are really restricted to, you know, Powerhouse-based units or the Germa units. Outside of that, it's going to be really hard to get those matching orbs. You can kind of run a Driven team, but the Driven team is, again, really lackluster in terms of utility. Driven have really bad utility, so, well, not really bad, but they're one of the worst for utility in the game right now. So yeah, that's why I put Judge in this tier, because there are just so many things that really drag him down that he just isn't really as good as, you know, the tier 1 or the tier 0 legends, in my personal opinion. You guys might have a different opinion, but in my opinion, in terms of the Japanese content, I feel like Judge is a little lackluster because he struggles to get matching orbs outside of Powerhouse and Germa, and if you are running Powerhouse or Germa, the utility isn't really the best, and that's why I have this specific unit in this tier. So now we're going to be talking about V2 Fujitora Isho, and once again, kind of going back to Mihawk and Zoro, Slashers are a mediocre tiered class right now. They don't have the best utility once again. Also, the fact that this guy has to hit good, great, and perfect to get his high ceiling maximum attack multiplier can be quite an issue for some people, especially if the meta does turn to more barrier based stuff. Then you know, this guy could actually be quite troublesome against that. Kind of very similar to how barriers kind of destroyed Log Luffy in that sense. So if the barrier meta kind of returns, then Fuji might kind of struggle against that kind of content. However, one thing about V2 Fuji that is fantastic is the fact that he is a 3.25 base attack multiplier, and he will just grow on top of that once you hit good, great, perfect. So 3.25 base attack multiplier is still very passable in clearing some certain mobs and some certain bosses if they do have barriers to deal with, so that's still quite nice as well. And also, the big thing about Fujitora that really drags him down is that extra damage he takes when he's the captain. You know, when he's the captain, you get 1.2 extra damage taken. With double Fuji, it's a 1.44 extra damage taken, which is so unnecessary. I really don't know why that's there. I really wish it wasn't there. And on top of this, his special ability, it only really works when he's the captain. If he's not the captain, you're not getting the most out of his special, so you are kind of restricted to using him as the captain. But, you know, ideally you want to be using him as the captain anyway, because his captain ability is still the best slasher captain ability in the game, in my opinion. You guys might have differing opinions on that one, but just in my opinion, I think that Fujitora is the best slasher captain in the game. But even though he is the best slasher captain in the game, there are still definite flaws to this unit, with a few restrictions and a few just really annoying things that he has that really drag him down. Moving on now to V2 Lore 6+. So the Cerebral version of this lore is in the slightly higher tier compared to the Striker version. And like you guys, if you guys have been watching this video, you guys would know that the reason for that is because Cerebral are much better than Strikers. Not much better, but they are just better than Strikers, just overall. They're just a better team than Strikers. Obviously, the fact that Cerebral have the best utility and damage ratio, like the best balance between utility and damage, by far in terms of any other classes in the game right now, in my personal opinion. But one thing about lore is still you have to say that, you know, 3 times multiplier is a little lackluster still, you know, but the thing is, Cerebral units are so powerful right now that 3 times attack multiplier doesn't really matter for the most part. You can still get away with clearing majority of the content in the game with a 3 times multiplier with Cerebral, because their units are just so good. You know, you got the 2.25 attack boost in Nami, you've got a 3 times chain locker in Rayleigh, you have the new affinity booster in the new Nami as well, which we'll go over a little bit later as well. That new Nami is fantastic. So yeah, I think the Cerebral lore is much better than the Striker one right now, just with that new support. You know, Cerebral's just so good in this game right now. But let's move on to the next legend. And now we've got Frankie. So you guys know how I feel about Frankie if you guys watch streams and previous videos of mine. I'm not a big fan of Frankie. I think he's a pretty average unit overall. But you can't deny that he actually is a lot better than the tier 3 legends that I've listed before. The thing is with the new release of the brand new Gear 4 legend, he could be one of the coolest hybrid teams in the game. If you could partner that new Luffy up with this brand new Frankie, I can see some pretty cool hybrid teams being built between those two characters. But just once again, hybrid teams aren't really the most ideal teams to build for, you know, farming content. If you just want to beat the content like a single time, hybrid teams are quite fine. But But if you want to continuously farm with hybrid teams, that can be quite tricky to build, especially, you know, if you have to keep finding friends and stuff like that. It's not ideal to really do so. And also on top of this, Frankie's a 3 times universal booster. You know, obviously you have to have a fighter, shooter, / a striker in your crew, of course. Every unit in your crew has to have that class. But on top of this, he's a 3 times booster. When you use his captain action, he becomes a 4 times booster, but then there's all those other effects depending on what class attacks and stuff like that. But that's only for 1 turn. So a majority of the time, you're only getting a 3 times boost and a 4 times boost, but depending on what character you attack with, that can become lower, or it could become slightly higher as well. If you are running a mono fighter team with a Gear 4 friend, that could actually be extremely powerful. But in my personal opinion, I don't know. I just think Frankie is just a really average unit, but he would definitely be considered one of those fun legends. I know a lot of people really like the fun legends, and Frankie definitely fits the bill for that one. And he does have some pretty good damage output as well. So yeah, Frankie, in my opinion, deserves tier 2. If his team with Gear 4 friend captain is like one of the best teams in the game, which I don't see it being one of the best teams in the game, but I think that it can see some definite use. Depending on how powerful that team gets, you know, Frankie could move up. But at this current time, I think he's quite comfortable in the tier 2 position. And the last unit in the tier 2 position, we're going to be talking about Nico Robin. Now, Robin, oh my god, Robin is such a cool unit, you know. When she first got released, I don't know, I wasn't really, you know, looking at the Robin too much. I didn't really care for her too much. I was just more excited for the actual rare recruits of that batch. But when you really look at Robin and what she does, she is pretty amazing. So, once again, she's Cerebral support, of course. She's one of the Cerebral captains, of course. She gives you 20% damage reduction, constant 3.25 attack, and she gives you a very significant recovery boost. I saw a lot of videos of this Robin, and Robin, when she picks up a recovery orb with the full Cerebral crew, heals for like 9,000 recovery per recovery orb. And her special ability will negate all damage for a turn. And when you use her special, adjacent orbs are turned into recovery. And recovery orbs are treated as beneficial, I think. I don't remember that part specifically. But with the Zunisha ship anyway, they're treated as beneficial. And with her special, giving you all damage reduction, you get no damage taken for a single turn, and she gives you at least 2 recovery orbs. That means you're healing for at least 18k with her special ability with no damage taken for that turn. Like, that's insane. Also, on top of all of this stuff, she has the Enrage Limit Break ability, and when you max out this Limit Break ability for Robin, she has like a 300 additional attack if you took damage with her Enrage ability, which I think is the best Enrage in the game. Robin is fantastic, and the fact that we just mentioned all this stuff about Cerebral and how good they are, and plus the new Nami as well, like, man oh man, like, Cerebral are just that much further ahead than everything else in the game right now. And honestly, I was really considering putting Robin a little bit higher, but I'm still not really sold on the fact that she is a 3.25 captain, and that's really all she does. But you gotta remember that with the power of Cerebral, you know, 3 times attack captains are even better than what they are right now. You know, Law being a 3 times as what he is, that is still better than, you know, most other captains in this tier. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Cerebral is just so good right now. But anyways, that's been my whole breakdown of the tier 2 list. Now let's move on to the tier number 1. So the first unit in this list is going to be none other than version 2 Rayleigh. So once again, more Cerebral talk. Cerebral Free Spirit is his classes, and those 2 classes are the best classes in the game at the moment. So yeah, that just works amazing with this new Rayleigh character. Also, the fact that the thing about this character is why he's not like the top tier, even though Cerebral are the best right now, is because he only really works under 30%. If you're not below 30%, he is only a 2.5 times attack captain. And he does reduce cooldown at the start of the adventure by 1, so that's still pretty good. But when you're under 30%, you get 3.5 attack, and you get higher chances of matching orbs. So if you can maintain yourself below 30%, you just get so many matching orbs, and you get the 3.5 times attack. It's really, really good, man. It's a really good captain ability, and the fact that, you know, it's a 2.5 times when you're above that 30%, so that can actually be really bad, because if you're not killing mobs, you can actually die if you take too much damage from the mobs, because 2.5 can be quite a struggle for clearing those mobs. But once you do get under that 30% threshold, you are clearing everything. You are doing so much damage. You have matching orbs nearly all the time, especially if you are using the Zunisha ship as well. You know, you got those tandem recoveries beneficial as well, or you could use the Red Force, which even increases your chances even more. So yeah, V2 Rayleigh as a captain is awesome. Also, his special ability, I think someone might have to find this out, but I think Rayleigh has the most boosts with his special compared to anyone else in the game. He does 200,000 fixed damage to one enemy through barriers. He does a 3 times chain lock. he boosts orbs by 1.75. Then if you are under that health threshold, he will give you 95% damage reduction, and he changes all those other orbs into matching, like block, recovery, tandem, etc. He's awesome. He's such a good unit. It's just the fact that he only really flourishes under that 30% threshold, and that's really the only reason why he's in this tier. If he was like 3.5 like all the time, or like below 50, he would be like 100% tier 0. But still, you can't deny how good this unit is. That really minor gripe about this character, that's literally the only thing about this unit that I think is really bad. I guess you can also bring up another point, the fact that his special does so many different things that it could trigger interrupts from certain characters. That's the only thing I can see being another gripe about this character. But like when you really look at it, there aren't that many special interrupts in the game that would interrupt, you know, orbs, chain boost, fixed damage, damage reduction. Maybe orb manipulation could be the big one there, but that's only under 30%. But honestly, like, this unit is amazing. Not really too much about this unit that is really a negative, and that's why he's in the tier 1. Okay, so now we're moving on to version 2 Doflamingo. Version 2 Doflamingo is the best driven captain in the game, hands down. Like, that's quite easily to tell. But it's just the fact that driven a pretty mediocre class. The reason that they're kind of considered as mediocre is the fact that, yes, their damage potential is through the roof. I think they probably have the best damage potential out of any team in the game. But on terms of their utility, they kind of struggle. Like, they actually don't have very, very good special bind removers. Special bind is like one of the most key debuffs that happen in the game, and they don't have a unit that actually gets rid of it. The only unit that gets rid of it for driven, I believe, is the quick Perona that was available during the Blitz Battle Sugo Fest against the Straw... no, not the Straw Hats, the Admirals. So yeah, not too many people would actually have that character, and that's the only character that gets rid of Special Bind, one of the most key debuffs in the game. So that's one of the big things that draws Doflamingo down, but everything else about Doflamingo is amazing. His captain ability is amazing, god tier unit. 3.25 base, 3.9 with a matching orb, makes quick dex beneficial to driven, strength won't appear as often, very similar to Lucy's captain ability. But, you know, he's special, he's special, man. The overkill damage and then being able to just go ahead and just burst on a turn and then use it to just clear a boss is awesome. Very similar to Inthawk in that respect. But the thing is that you don't actually need to use this unit on a driven-based team. You can still use it on a cerebral team because he is a driven cerebral unit, and we already know how powerful cerebral are. You can use it on a mono dex, with the new Nami, we'll be talking about her in a minute as well, and also on a Lucy team because he is a dex unit. You can use it on a Lucy team, destroy a boss, use the Doflamingo special, and you're good to go. Like, this unit is just not only good on his own team, he's good on a lot of teams as well. So yeah, that is exactly why Doflamingo is in this tier, because he does have a couple of drawbacks, but overall, like, still an amazing god tier unit to have. Now we're going to be talking about V2 Sakazuki. Honestly, this character is probably one of the best units to have if you are just starting off the game. Very nice unit as, like, legitimately, you hit 6 perfects, you do 1,000,000 damage. That's pretty crazy. Just that alone is actually, like, pretty good. His max ceiling of his damage, though, is only 3.25 times attack. He doesn't even go higher than that. He is very reliant on him doing the captain ability damage at the end of each turn. He's very reliant on that. But remember, he only does that 1,000,000 damage at the end of the turn if you tapped 6 perfect hits. The thing is that in the future Treasure Cruise, we don't know right now, but I feel like when barriers come back, this guy's gonna really hurt. If there's gonna be good and great barriers, this guy is gonna really struggle against that kind of content. 3.25 still can get you through content, especially because he can partner up with a certain other legend, being V2 Shanks, of course. But, the fact that you do need to hit 6 perfects to get that damage output is quite bad, honestly. The fact that barriers can really destroy that, or also if they have an ability that makes perfects harder to hit, that means you need to be better at hitting perfects. That's more of a skill thing, but still, overall, I don't think this character is as good as what a lot of people are saying overall. I would much prefer to have the Kuzan character. I feel like Kuzan is a much better unit overall, but the fact that you can still cheese through content with this guy, which is very, very nice, and you can't deny his special power. His special ability, being able to give you a full board of orbs, getting rid of block orbs, and also giving you a 2.25 orb boost, is very, very nice, and as we mentioned before, partners well with V2 Shanks, and that's the reason why this character is here, is because he gets carried a lot by V2 Shanks. If V2 Shanks wasn't a character, I feel like Sakazuki would definitely not be as good as what he is. I feel like that Akainu, with the fact that he partners well with V2 Shanks, Shanks being a type booster, this guy being an orb booster, it partners extremely well together. And once Japan get that V2 Ray Dofi, that's going to be a good unit to have as well. You can make it a 3-turn boost. Man, that's going to work so well, and that's the reason why this guy is in tier number 1. Now we're going to be talking about the V2 Kuzan character. So his max ceiling of his damage output is 4.06 times, very similar to V2 Lucci. V2 Lucci has the same multiplier at max as well, but this guy's base attack is 3.25, which is amazing, yo. And in order to reach that max multiplier, you need to hit in the order of yellow, yellow, blue, and once you do that, that's when you get your high multiplier. So the fact that you have to hit in a certain order of characters, that can be quite detrimental depending on what type of content you're facing, but for the most part, hitting Sai quick isn't really that bad of like a debuff at all. Like, it really doesn't matter because your last 3 units are doing a crap ton of damage. On top of this, he gives you an HP boost, like Akainu. He doesn't actually do that. The V2 Akainu does not give you any damage reduction. He does not give you any HP boost, and that's why I think Kuzan is a little bit better. It gives you a health boost, and on top of that, there is an actual ship that works well with Quick and Sai. You can use the Arc Maxim ship, which also grants you a little bit more extra health. So you have the double Kuzan and the ship giving you a health boost. So yeah, this team, compared to the Sakazuki team, has more health. It has a higher base damage. And also, this character is actually quite good because he, very similar to Akainu, will give you a full board of orbs for his team and will grant a 2.25 attack boost. That's actually kind of similar to Shanks in some respects, being a type booster instead of an orb booster, but he still gives you a full board of orbs, getting rid of block as well. Amazing unit overall, very, very powerful, quick and side boosting legend. And yeah, Akainu and the Aokiji are very similar to each other, and I feel like that they would be probably in the same tier for a while, unless if there is an extremely powerful int unit or an extremely powerful Sai unit or a quick unit that comes out that, just blasts these teams into oblivion. But right now, these two teams are very similar to each other in terms of what they can do, and that's why I put them together. The next one we're going to be discussing is going to be the brand newly announced version 4 Legend Luffy, because this is legitimately the 4th Legend Luffy we had. We've had Log Luffy, Timeskip Luffy, Luffy Ace, and now this brand new Gear 4 Luffy. Now, we've already discussed exactly what this character does. If you guys want a little bit of a run through of what he does again, click the card up in the corner of the video. It'll also be linked at the end of the video as well, so you guys get a full breakdown of this character. But he's a Rainbow Captain. He is a 3 times Rainbow Captain, very similar to Frankie actually. When you use his Captain action, it becomes a 4 times multiplier. But the thing about it is the fact that you only really get that 1 turn of burst, and then you have to charge up his Captain action again before you can get your Gear 4 active again, which is one of the big drawbacks of the character. He is Rainbow, which is still, still really good to have. The fact that you can use literally anyone you want for his team. And also the fact that when you go ahead and use the Gear 4 Bounce Man Captain ability, you get 20% damage reduction, and if you are able to use the Tank Man ability, you get given a 50% damage reduction. And the fact that, you can only get 1 real turn of burst, but you can actually time it correctly, where you can actually carry the Tank Man through to the boss, and if they do like preemptive damage, you can tank the hit, and that would be quite nice to have. But the fact is if you don't kill the boss in 1 turn, you're just dead. Like, you're simply dead. But he is a Rainbow Captain with a 4 times boost at your best potential. So for the most part, you are going to be killing everything. And remember, when you actually use the Gear 4 Captain action and become Gear 4, and you actually go ahead and use his special ability as well, he treats Strength, Quick, Sai, Recovery, and Tandem as beneficial. The only ones that aren't beneficial through natural orbs are going to be Dex and Int. So 5 out of the 7 natural orbs are going to be counted as beneficial when you use his special and are either Tank Man or Bounce Man. So that's also really good. You don't really need to rely on orb manipulation with this guy. Although, it depends on what the boss does, but, you don't really need to rely on orb manipulation for the most part, which is very, very good. And at the moment, I've got him as TBC, to be confirmed. Once he actually gets released and we see people use him in certain pieces of content, that's going to really see where this unit will be placed. This is kind of like a filler unit right now. We're not really really too sure where he'll be placed, but I think this is a very safe bet to not make him the best of the best right now, but he's definitely not, you know, in the mid tier either. He's a very powerful unit from what we can see with his abilities. And remember, his special ability is a 2x universal attack boost as well for a single turn. So he is his own cruise attack booster, which is one of the big downfalls of Rainbow teams. Rainbow teams kind of struggle with bringing attack boosters. If the Rainbow Captain is not a type booster, that can be a struggle because, you know, with teams, you know, we have lots of different boosters. There's not that many good universal attack boosters where you have this brand new Luffy who is perfect for that. That means you only really need to be bringing your orb booster, your chain lockers and stuff like that. So yeah, this Luffy is a very good unit, but it's going to be hard to say right now. It's hard to say before the unit releases how good he's going to be, but just judging from what his abilities do, I feel like this is a very comfortable position to put him in. The last unit we're going to be discussing in tier number 1 is going to be the brand new Nami legend, and in my personal opinion, I prefer this Nami character a lot more than the new Luffy. You know, we've had lots of Luffy legends in the past, but this Nami is so goddamn powerful. So if you guys don't know what she does, remember, go check out the video if you haven't done so already. What she will do is she's an unconditional 3.75 times attack booster for Dex, and will also treat strength and quick as beneficial for the Dex characters as well. So 2 of the 7 natural orbs are going to be counted as beneficial for Dex, and then if you count the Dex orbs themselves, 3 of the 7 naturals are going to be counted as beneficial. And if you are choosing to run a Cerebral and Dex team, which I think is the best team to run right now with this Nami, you can have the Zunisha ship treat Recovering Tandem as beneficial, meaning that 5 of the 7 natural orbs just naturally are going to be beneficial for the Mono Dex Cerebral team. Now, other Mono Dex Cerebral units you can bring, Treasure Mode Sabo, really powerful conditional booster. You have Rare Recruit Shirahoshi, who is one of the best units, one of the best utility units in the game. She's one of the best attack down removers in the game, so she's amazing for the really annoying debuffs. You got V2 Doflamingo, who we've already discussed before, can do insane things with his overkill damage special. Version 2 Rayleigh as well, we've already discussed how good he is. He's an orb booster, he does chain locking, he does damage, he's a damage reducer, orb manipulator, amazing unit. You have access to also the Rare Recruit Timeskip Robin. Now, if you guys don't know her special of Nami, she's an orb booster for 2 times, and she's a 1.75 color affinity booster, so you need a type booster on your team. Timeskip Robin, the Dex one from, you know, the Timeskip Luffy or the Timeskip Zoro batch, she's really good because she's a 2 times attack booster for Dex and Psi, so you can use her on the team as well. So there's some pretty cool stuff that you can do with Mono Dex Cerebral, and you know, as I mentioned before, with the Zunisha ship and her as the captain, 5 out of the 7 natural orbs as matching is pretty goddamn powerful, man. That's so good, so good. And on top of this, another unit as well, not a Cerebral unit, but just a Dex unit. Shout out to Rose for pointing this out to me in the Discord, in Boris's Discord. The fact that you can use Colosseum Lucy, and Colosseum Lucy special is an orb boosting special, which you might not need, but Colosseum Lucy can give you a full border matching orb, strength, dex, quick, and also give you orb boost and cut the enemy's health by 20% through barriers. So that's also a really viable unit to use on the teams as well. Now, as we mentioned, the special is extremely strong. 2 times orb boost, 1.75 color affinity to Cerebral, Powerhouse, Free Spirit, and Driven. So the fact that she boosts Free Spirit and Driven with that ability, that's so cool, because we've already talked about how good Cerebral and Free Spirit are, so that's awesome. So that's really key, the fact that she's Cerebral, man. I think that Dex Cerebral is going to be the way to go, but we're going to be seeing, we'll see how people use this character. I do think she's going to be able to clear a lot of content, but the content with strength bosses, that's going to be interesting to see how she deals with that. I'm not too sure how she's going to go with that. But even still, her special ability is probably going to be her strong suit, being used on a lot of teams. Even if she's not boosted, she gives you a lot of damage output. She's a universal affinity booster to those 4 classes, I guess. It's not really universal, but, you know, to those 4 classes. Very nice. And also still TBC, to be confirmed. We're not too sure where she'll be placed. This is just a very safe bet to put her in right now, because in my opinion, I think Gear 4 and Nami are better than, if not better than most of the legends, if not all of the legends in tier 2, and that's why I put them in here specifically. But now we've gone ahead and talked about all of the tier 1 legends. We've got one more tier to go, tier 0. So we've finally made it. We're making it towards the end of the video. This has been an extremely long video, so if you guys are here right now, thank you so much for sticking around. But let's go ahead and talk about these units. So the first one here is going to be Lucy. Now, a lot of people are going to be shocked and saying, why is Lucy here? Why is Lucy here? I had a look at this, right? I initially did not have Lucy in tier 0 either. But when you actually go ahead and look at it, Lucy can actually use some of the better units in the game and can deal with every single debuff in the game. The only debuff, he's missing 2 debuffs that he can't deal with. He has no resilience reducer, and he has no enrage reducer. Now, that doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter, because you can use other means of getting around those things. So yeah, the fact that he doesn't reduce resilience or enrage, he reduces everything else. He can deal with everything else. And also, he also has amazing damage output. That is no mistake. We already know how powerful Lucy is. So his utility to damage ratio is very, very good. And that's why I would put him in this tier, because the most key unit in the game being that Dex Shirahoshi, being able to remove debuffs and stuff like that, you can use it on a Lucy team. And also the fact, you got access to V2 Dofi to just wave clear a boss as well. That's so powerful. Like, Lucy is amazing. And also the fact that he is the crew's type booster means it opens up more spots on your crew for more utility stuff as well. So yeah, Lucy, fantastic unit, and that's why he deserves to be in tier 0. We already know how powerful he is. It's just the fact that, did he have the utility things or not? He does have the aspects of utility, so that's why he deserves to be in this tier. There really isn't a downside to Lucy. The only downside is the fact that you can't bring Scion Int, but that's just his team composition. You're never going to bring Scion Int anyway with his team composition and the way that his captain ability works. And that is the only debuff he really has. Other than that, he's a powerful unit and can deal with a lot of content in the game pretty easily. The next unit we're going to be discussing is going to be none other than Luffy Ace Dual Legend. So when this guy came out, I was very hesitant about whether or not I should put him in the top tier. But once we saw what he does, Luffy Ace is, I don't know if he's the best in the game. He's probably equal best in the game right now. It's really too hard to tell which one of these characters is the best. But let's go ahead and go through just my dot points I have this character. So Luffy and Ace Legend, they have low lows and high highs, very similar to like what we discussed really early on with Akainu. Akainu, his low end is really low, but his high end is extremely high. With Ace as the captain, I believe it's a 2 times or a 2.25 base attack. They can go up to like 3.5. Luffy's a 3 times base. But when you use the special ability for 3 turns gives you a 4.25 times attack multiplier with a 20% damage reduction. And the fact that you have these free spirit characters that have these sailor abilities that can treat certain orbs as beneficial means that these characters that have those matching orbs will be getting the 4.25 times multiplier. It's amazing the amount of damage output you can get, and the main thing about this character that is so goddamn powerful is his switch mechanic. So the dual units, if you guys don't know, have this really powerful switch mechanic where you can switch between the Luffy and the Ace character, and that mechanic in and of itself is very powerful, because when you switch to the other character, you avoid orb paralysis, you avoid orb sealing, you avoid despair. It's so busted. The fact that you just remove all of those really annoying debuffs just with switching, and you can do it once per turn, it's just too OP. Like, that is just so game breaking, and it enables you to just literally not bring some certain utility characters because you can already deal with the debuffs. If your characters get despaired for 99 turns, you just switch both of them, that's it. Boom, you're ready to go. You've got your captain abilities back again. It's so goddamn powerful, man. And also, just his special is powerful as well. His special ability does like 70 or 75 times his attack AoE damage. That's a lot of wave clear. He gives you a 2 times orb boost, and all your colored orbs are turned into matching. He gives himself those matching orbs, and when you activate his special for 3 turns, he becomes Luffy Ace, which is the 4.25 attack multiplier. Yeah, he's really, really good. And he's the free spirit boost. I guess I didn't mention he's a free spirit captain. So yeah, free spirit being one of the best classes in the game. You can also utilize the Dex Shirahoshi character. So that's why Luffy Ace, in my opinion, is one of the best characters in the game in tier number 0. And last but definitely not least, we have version 2 Shanks. Now, when this guy first got released, or announced really, when he first got announced, when we first got the information of his abilities, I was, I thought he was pretty bad. I didn't think he was ever going to be as good as what he was, because when he first came out, he was the introduction into the color meta. And at that current time, we didn't really know how much expanded or how much expansion was going to happen on the color meta, but as we can see right now, the color meta is the way that the game is shifting. They want you to run color based teams against content, and if you have this version 2 Shanks, color teams are so much stronger for your character box. So, and also another thing as well about this Shanks is he's a free spirit cerebral unit like Rayleigh, the two best classes in the game right now. Now, his captain ability is a 3.5 times attack multiplier with a 1.3 HP boost to all characters. The thing about this unit is you need to have 4 of the same color on your crew. Now, because he is an int character, you mainly want to be running int-based teams with him, but you can still run some really cool other teams. Like we've seen with all the powerful Dex cerebral units and Shanks being cerebral as well, you can actually run some pretty powerful cerebral teams with him, so that works as well. Also with dual units are a really interesting factor as well, because they can change color mid-adventure, so that can also be a really interesting factor. I'm not too sure how expanded upon these dual units are going to be in the future, but dual units could open up some pretty interesting things for Shanks as well. One thing right now is the fact that Shanks is the playmaker for the color teams, okay? So the fact that he has this special ability that can give you a full board of orbs for your team, a 2.25 attack boost, and boost your chain by 0.9 for a turn, his special ability alone can clear Colosseum mini bosses and, you know, stage 4 bosses and stage 3 bosses. Like, his special alone is just clearing rooms, and just with that, like, that gives you so much room on your crew to just put other characters, because you can just bring this guy and safely bet that he's going to enable you to clear that room. Especially if you have double Shanks, you have 2 specials to use, and again, like we mentioned before, V2 Akainu being an orb booster for strength and int can work very well with the mono int team. I think mono int is the best team in the game right now with the V2 Akainu and Shanks. They work so well together, and the fact that Shanks can abuse any color in the game, so even if you do need to verse a boss that's a quick boss, you can bring a Dex team. If there's a strength boss, you can bring a quick team, and just bring the units that deal with the debuffs that the boss has, and you've got the colors already on your side. Shanks gives you a full board of that color, gives your crew the attack boost, gives your crew the chain boost, and you can just go ahead and just clear the content. So monocolor teams are the new way to go in One Piece Treasure Cruise, and the fact that they are the next best thing to come out, Shanks is the character that you need to make those color teams as strong as what they are. He alone is amazing, and he's probably on equal terms with Luffy and Ace in terms of what they can do. I do think that Luffy and Ace's captain swap ability is one of the most broken mechanics in the game, and I think that alone makes him a little bit better. But in terms of the color teams and how powerful they are, Shanks is the unit that you need to make those color teams work extremely, extremely well. And that is just the whole run through of my entire tier list of One Piece Treasure Cruise for the month of May. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys made it all the way through the video, I greatly appreciate it. If you guys would smack the like down button down below, that would be greatly appreciated. Lots of talking in this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you guys want to stay up to date with all the content I post in my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.